There's a conversation Black families have had for generations at the kitchen table, at the barbers, in the group chats late at night. It's about building something to pass down generational wealth. And generational wealth is a beautiful thing to want. But here's what took me a long time to see in myself: we chase the wealth and we forget the health. We'll grind ourselves into the ground to leave our kids something, while the thing they need the most from us is being there, being present, being well. Those priorities quietly slips down the list, and it shows up in the body first. You catch yourself in a photo you didn't know was being taken, or a shop window on the walk back to the car. And for half a second, you didn't recognize the man looking back at you. You're a bit heavier, a bit more tired, a bit further from the dad you meant to be. I'm not here to sell you a summer body. I'm not going to shout at you or berate you. I'm a dad because I'm one. I'm a coach of 11 years, and I've been the man in that shop window. So today, I want to talk to you about why this happens to so many of us after 35, and exactly how you can reverse it, what the actual numbers tell us. Before the how, I want to be honest about the why, because it's bigger than your belly or your waist size. The years where your body starts to drift are the exact years your kids need you most switched on. The school runs, the football on a wet Tuesday night, the dance lessons you take your daughter, the energy to actually be in the room after work instead of collapsing on the sofa, doing nothing. This isn't about how vain you should be. Where you carry your fat matters. The deep fat that sits around your organs, around your belly, is the most dangerous and strongly linked to health markers that decide how many good years you get. We're talking blood sugar, blood pressure, the stuff that doesn't hurt until it actually does. High blood pressure is more common in Black men, and it shows up earlier, and it does more damage. You can think you're totally fine for years without tracking it. And it can be known as the silent killer. The same goes for type 2 diabetes. It tells a similar story. That deep fat is tangled up in both of them. I'm telling you this because knowing your numbers isn't fear, it's about taking ownership. And you know where our community has always had real conversations. Places where Black men go together, talking the barbers, the local gym, some place that is common for us all. There was a study in LA where they put blood pressure checks right there in Black barbershops. And the funny thing is, it actually worked. The level of blood pressure in men dropped significantly because that's where the trust already is. So this week, whoever you are, wherever you are, get your blood pressure checked. There's loads of pharmacies that do it for free. You can purchase one at home so you can check it on a regular basis. High blood pressure is common for Black men, but it is reversible. And that's the part that not many people know. Metabolism isn't broken. That's the story everyone sells you. Your metabolism's shot after 40. It makes a good excuse and a worse plan. But the research is clear. Your metabolism doesn't really budge until you're in your 60s. The decline everyone blames doesn't really start until then. So just sit with that for a second. If your engine hasn't slowed down, then the weight gain isn't your body betraying you. It's something else. And something else is fixable because you can change that. 3 things happened quietly at the same time and no one pointed at them. Number 1, you started losing muscle. From your early 30s, if you're not training, you lose muscle year on year. And if you don't train your muscles to stick around, it runs at roughly 3 to 8% per decade, and it speeds up as you get older. So muscle is the tissue that burns energy around the clock and does most of the work handling the sugar in your blood. So as it quietly leaves, the exact same dinner you always ate starts sitting differently on you. Nothing about your eating habits have to change, but the engine using the fuel gets smaller. Number 2, you started moving less. And I don't just necessarily mean that you go to the gym less or you're doing less workouts. I mean life movement, the desk job, driving everywhere, being a taxi for your kids and your family, the knees that ask for the lift instead of the stairs. You are genuinely more tired and knackered on the sofa by 9 p.m. Scientists have a name for all of that background movement. It's called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Say that 3 times fast. And it's not small. The difference in NEAT between two people of the same size can be several hundred, even up to 2,000 calories a day. For a busy dad, it's the first thing to go away. Nobody notices it when it goes. For example, I'm waving my hands a lot right now. That could be the difference between me burning more calories than someone sitting at the desk next to me. And number 3, life got pretty heavy. Your stress went up. The amount of sleep goes down. Convenience food went up. The cost of living goes up. Because when you're running on empty at the end of a long day, you reach for what's fast, what's convenient, not necessarily what's good. And short sleep isn't a small thing. If you restrict a man's sleep and his hunger hormone ghrelin goes up, his fullness hormone, leptin, goes down. And that means you are more likely to eat more the next day without clocking it. Simple. So you're not weak at 9 p.m. That's just your human biology just catching up with you. You're underslept, you're under-recovered, and it's not necessarily a character's flaw, it's a physiology of a provider's life. And this is why crash diets always fail you. They try to fight all 3 things at once with willpower alone. And willpower is a tank that's already near empty. So every time you try to do a fresh crash diet, you only last a couple of weeks at a time, at best. You don't need more discipline at the worst possible time of the day. You need a plan that doesn't depend on you being a hero. I have put the whole thing together with the numbers included into a free guide, the Strong Black Dad Starter Guide, and the link's in the description. Go ahead and download it, but stick with me first. So here's how I want you to think about muscle for the rest of your life. Think of it as the thing that keeps you burning energy while you sit still. It's the thing that handles a big meal because your muscles are where most of the sugar from your food is. Someone asked me the other day, they were curious from work why I was able to eat a full steak dinner and then still look the way that I do. And I don't know why they had that image in my head, to be honest. But it's simple. I've spent years building muscle over time, tracking my health over time. It does allow you to eat more calories on a regular basis. If you train and you have more muscle on the body, it works as a protective mechanism against things like blood sugar, things like blood pressure rising. The science of it is that more muscle can support steadier blood sugar and better insulin sensitivity. And it's the plating that keeps you strong enough to lift your kids up over your shoulders and get up off the floor easily. When you're playing with your grandkids one day, the part that nobody tells you is that every year you don't train, you take a piece of that armour off and leave it on the floor quietly. No alarm goes off. You just walk around a little less protected each year. We're not here to chase a number on the scale. We're here to pick the armour back up and bolt it back on piece by piece. Here's exactly what I'd do. I'm going to give you the real numbers because you're a grown man and you deserve the truth, not a plate drawing. Let me be straight with you about the one thing everyone hangs on. Fat loss comes down to a calorie deficit. Eating a bit less energy than you burn consistently over time. We know this. It's not a diet brand. It is physics, and it's really important to kind of nail to the cross. There is no food, no tea, no supplement that gets around it, no matter what you do. Everything else we do either helps create the deficit without white knuckling it, or makes sure the weight loss you lose is fat, not muscle. So there's 5 levers that I want you to think about in order. 1, set the deficit and pick the sensible pace. A simple starting point for most men is your body weight in pounds times 12 to 13. That's roughly your daily calories for fat loss. Let's say you're 200 pounds, times that by 12. That means your calorie amount is around about 2,400 calories. If you times it by 13, then that's 2,600, so a range within that. That's your calorie deficit, done. So it's a sensible pace for you to have your calorie deficit. Or you could take your maintenance and drop it by 300 to 500 a day, okay? We go with that level of amount of calories because when men crash, harder than that, more of what they lose is muscle, and it doesn't really stay off. Number 2, protein. And I mean a real target. do 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilo of your target body weight per day. If you're a man and say you're 100 kilos, you times that by 1.6, that's about 160 grams of protein a day. You can go up to 2.2, that's 220 grams of protein a day within that range. As long as you're eating within that range, you're eating enough protein whilst you're in a calorie deficit. That's the range that keeps landing on for holding muscle, especially in a deficit. Protein is also the most filling thing you can eat, and it costs you the most energy just to digest it. So it works as a double duty. In real food, you're looking at a few eggs a day, some Greek yogurt at breakfast, gets you over 30 grams, easy. Then you can think about having a palm and a half of chicken, beef, fish at lunch, and you could do a protein shake during the day for a snack as well, or some skyr yogurt again, and then you could repeat that again for dinner, and that easily gets you up to about 150 grams of protein or above. Okay, it's not that hard. 3, lift and track it. These are non-negotiable things. 2 to 3 sessions a week. But the most important thing is that you are consistently lifting weights within that range and you're focusing on the big movements. A squat, a hinge like a Romanian deadlift, a press, a row or a pull-up. Take most of your sets within 1 to 3 reps of failure, and anywhere from 6 to 20 reps works for building muscle, as long as it's difficult towards the end. And that's the bit that actually matters. If you go from there and then over time you add a rep or a little weight over time, that progression getting slightly stronger month on month is a massive signal that tells your body to keep the armour on. So in practice, in reality, that could be 40 minutes, 3 times a week, done properly and progressed. And that beats being in the gym 2 hours doing aimless work over time. Number 4, steps. Steps can rebuild the movement you've lost. You get to 8 to 10,000 a day. Or if that's a mountain from where you are now, just add 2,000 to your current average and build from there. I've been coaching clients that started with me that are on, say, 4,000 steps, 2,000 steps, because they literally wake up, they get in the car, they go to work, they get back in the car after work, and they go home and sit on the sofa. Just by going to the gym alone, they up their steps. But when you want to up it a notch from there, yes, you might want to add a little bit of walking in there. You want to add maybe being on your feet just that little bit more to get your steps up. 8 to 10,000 steps is a surefire way of actually increasing your activity levels, without a doubt. Some ways to get your steps up: a walk after dinner instead of the sofa, park at the far end of the road, take a call when you're on your feet. Just be absolutely making sure that if you have 2 working legs, that you are just trying to get your steps up as much as possible. It is the cheapest, easiest, fastest way, and it's non-fatiguing way of you losing body fat. Fact. Number 5, sleep. We all know that if we get 8 hours of sleep, we'll be okay, but that's not entirely true. 7 to 9 hours, and I want you to think of it like the same that you think about your children's bedtimes. There isn't a soft option with your kid's bedtime, and there should be the same should apply to you. In a diet study, cutting sleep to 5.5 hours didn't stop people losing weight, but it flipped what they did lose. They lost more muscle and they lost less fat, and it left them hungrier. So you could put in the same effort, be underslept, and you get a worse result. So if you focus on getting 7 quality hours of sleep a night, making sure that you are going to bed at the same time, not having screens on during bedtime. I'm a bit of a culprit for this. I like to sometimes have a bit of TV on in the bedroom. I think it's a bad idea, but sometimes I do that. But realistically, if you can have the same bedtime each night, try and turn your screens off, keep the room dark and cool, and find one thing that genuinely unwinds you that isn't a takeaway or a drink. Because essentially, stress and sleep, they go hand in hand, okay? If you are going to bed in a stressed state, then essentially what's happening is that you are just not fully resting. It benefits massively if you have a partner, if you know what I'm saying. Because not only can you be physically together and you might have some connection there, but also you have a companion that you can talk to, you can be open with, you can unload and unwind with your stress there as well. And that has a massive effect for, just better sleep in general. Managing stress, though, is managing the exact thing that walked you to the fridge. So if tracking every gram genuinely isn't your life, you can run this on autopilot. You can have protein at every meal, load half your plate with veg for fullness, size your carbs around your training. So just focus on having carbs pre and after training. And then keep an eye on liquids and mindless picking. So like picky bits or your kids' after leftovers, or the little bits of sauces here and there. And then stop around 80% full. So I can't remember the Japanese term exactly, but essentially you would be eating to the point where you are replete. You're not like completely done over with your fullness. You don't have to finish the plate, for example. If you do that, then your eating habits will massively improve. I didn't mention about banning foods. The Sunday dinner stays exactly where it is. The cookies in the cupboard can stay exactly where they are unless they are trigger foods. But be honest with yourself. If the scale hasn't moved in 2 to 3 weeks, the deficit isn't there. And you just simply need to tighten it up. That's not failure. And that's just reading the data and adjusting. A plan you can run at your own family table is the only plan that survives real life. And on health, done consistently, this way of living can support healthier blood pressure, steadier blood sugar, and better energy over time. I still think you should get your blood pressure checked. But if anything's off, or you've got a condition, or you're on medication, you can speak to your GP before you change things. Now, I need to tell you why I'm speaking about this today and starting Strong Black Dad. I grew up in Birmingham. I was born in London, and then I moved to Birmingham in my early years. My mum and dad separated, and I lived with my mum in Birmingham. B69. If you know of it, you know where the streets you just didn't walk down. You knew to stay away from trouble in general. Trouble wasn't unusual where I'm from. It was just the weather, I'll be honest. And the reason I got out wasn't that I was special. It's because of my mum's upbringing. My mum loved me enough to fill my life with other things, sport, activities, somewhere to be that wasn't the corner. She kept, without me realizing at the age that I was, before I was 10 years old, she was pointing me in a different direction until I started walking it myself. And I never forgotten that. Somebody giving you a direction can change your whole life. My dad was a good man. He loved me. He just wasn't there in the same house as me. So he was a bit distant. And a lot of the everyday stuff between a father and a son, it just never happened for us. And I don't say that with anger. I say it with, I want to say positive perspective, because it's the thing that shaped the father that I decided to be. And then my son came along, Felix, and it stopped me cold for a good couple of years, to be honest, because I could feel myself drifting into the exact thing I swore I would never be. I was present at home, but not really present, providing, but running on empty. And I'm not going to dress it up. It was the hardest season of my life to begin with. There was a season where I lost my smile. From the outside, it looked fine, but inside I was empty, and I knew it. And the thing that pulled me back wasn't some new plan or new way of living. It was the exact 5 things I've just given you. Walking, getting my protein right, believe it or not, getting back into a solid lifting routine, protecting my sleep, communicating, and getting my head right. And one small thing at a time, repeated over time until I recognized myself again. So I'm not doing this so my son can look at me and be impressed. I'm not living this lifestyle. I'm doing it so I'm still here. I'm still a strong version of myself. I'm still the present father that I want to be. And for all of it, that's the whole reason I built Strong Black Dad. No dad has to choose between providing for his family and being alive and well enough to enjoy them. So here's what I actually want you to do this week. Add 2,000 steps on your daily average. Check your blood pressure. Or hit a protein target at every meal. A big palm and a half, 30 to 40 grams per meal without fail. Just do 2 things that is going to benefit you. But if you master 2 things before you touch anything else, a small thing you actually do beats a perfect plan you bin by Wednesday. So get ready for the whole method written out. It's in the free guide below. The link is in the description. It's the exact thing I start every new client on, and it's yours. It's free of charge. And because this was never really about the belly, it's about being a strong, healthy dad your family is quietly depending on. The one who's got the energy for the school run, the patience at the bedtime, if you've got it, the years and the actual years to see it all through. We've spent generations chasing generational wealth, building something to hand down. And I love that. I chase that. I'm still chasing that today. But maybe the most valuable thing we ever pass to our children isn't a bank account. Maybe it's a dad who was well enough and strong enough and here long enough to teach them how to be well themselves. Let's start chasing generational health. And if that means something to you, subscribe, come back next week. We'll break the cycle together, and I'll see you then.